Wednesday to give a follow-up speech on how the unified field theory of liberalism applies to the mainstream media. So if you guys have any questions for me, if you want to write the blog, I'd appreciate it.
I have questions.
With or without the blog.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Well, we're gonna. All right. Okay, Evan, I have a question. When you originally gave this speech, you're invited to speak for the National Press Club. You go down there, you give a speech. Did you have any idea that this speech would resonate to the point where years later people are still talking about it?
Here's what I knew. I knew that I was right. I knew that what I was about to say was important. What I didn't know going into was actually the Heritage Foundation is that these aren't the thoughts that these people have every day for lunch. I didn't know, maybe I wasn't elevating the discourse. Maybe this was just what happens in Washington, D.C. But I knew as soon as I was finished speaking that this was a talk that was going to resonate for a long time.
Is this a lot like, for example, Rand Paul's filibuster resonated because he said what people were thinking and moved forward to lead? Was this speech and is this book an example of moving forward to lead and an example to the rest of us as bloggers to move forward, advance a position, and try and lead?
I do think that we need to speak plainly, speak clearly, and not pull any punches, but the purpose of my original talk and the purpose of the book and all of my subsequent talks was simply to lay out the truth. There's a reason that this talk in Washington, D.C. from this then unknown, I wasn't even in politics, I wasn't a political pundit, I was a Hollywood guy. So the reason this talk broke through in a town where people listen to speeches every single day, how many speeches how many books they read, how many articles they read, the reason this talk became and went viral is because somebody saw it and said, yes, that's the answer I've been looking for. And they sent it to friends and said, yes, that's the answer I've been looking for. And they sent it to friends and said, yes. And the reason is because it's the answer. My unified field theory of liberalism explains how your cousin, who isn't stupid, who isn't evil, why does he intentionally ignore facts that he knows in order to side with evil? The answer is in this book.
What is the answer in a sentence?
It takes 2 sentences, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I have the 4 laws.
because I work with people who are more conservative than me.
Right.
But they all still vote for Democrats.
Well, here's the answer. There are 4 laws. I'll go through the first 2. They're the only ones that are essential. All right. The first one is the modern liberal was raised to believe that indiscriminate. I'll take it from the book, then I'll explain it. The modern liberal was raised to believe that indiscriminateness is a moral imperative because its opposite is discrimination. Right? Anything that you think has been so tainted by your personal prejudices that the only way not to be prejudiced is to not think.
So I should drink everything out of that as opposed to discriminating for the things that I like.
That's exactly right. The second essential law is that indiscriminateness of thought doesn't lead to indiscriminateness of policy. It leads to siding with evil, failure, and wrong. Why? Because there's no culture, no religion, no person, no behavior is better than anything else, then success is unjust. Why should something succeed if it's not better than anything else? Right? To the modern liberal, failure, as proved by nothing other than the fact that it's failed, proves that the failure has somehow been victimized. Why would he fail? He's not worse than anything else. So social justice demands that to create justice, you punish the successful and you reward the failure. All right?
Like a trash compactor on Star Wars.
Except not, because that's what they want it to be.
Yeah.
But what actually happens is they flip-flop it.
Yeah.
Because the greater the success, the more they must have somehow cheated.
Yeah.
So the good becomes the evil, and the evil becomes the victimized.